Hey, beautiful people, it's your girl Nye, and I feel your pain. Now, before I get into this video, I want to say thank you for all the support on my second video as well as the first upload. Just all the feedback I'm getting is motivation. Now, I will say this, I do apologize for not posting this story time sooner. This thing called life is going on for me. So while trying to do this, I have things in my life that I'm trying to handle too. Trying to see when I can possibly get my surgeries and stuff. So it's been a lot going on. So I just want you to know that I'm not neglecting you. I'm not neglecting this channel or this cause. It's just I haven't had much time lately. But I'm here and I'm back now, and I'm so glad to be back. Today I'm going to be bringing you a story time. Now I know how we all love those. The story time today will be about when I first got diagnosed with my IBD back in 2019. Really, this story, when I think about it, it would have me sad thinking about it. Now, I never was uncomfortable with the story. It's just anytime I thought about it, I would get sad because I felt like, what could I have done to prevent it? Knowing that it was nothing I could do to prevent it. It was going to happen. And just feeling like I will say, when I first got diagnosed and it first just hit me, when I tell you guys, it hit me at a full rate speed. And it didn't even give me time to process what was going on with me, what was going on with my body. And it hit me. And it's taken a year for it to let up. So we gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. All right. I first got diagnosed back in 2019. Around the time in 2019 when I got diagnosed, I was working as well as attending school. I was actually in my freshman year of college. So I was getting adjusted to college life. I had just graduated high school. So I was getting adjusted to college life, working, making me a little money. And I was so happy with the path that I was going on because college is one of the things I've always wanted to do. College is very important to me. So I was so happy that I was finally in the place of all that happening. So around October, I could say I was getting kind of adjusted. During the beginning of October, things started to change. The first week of October, it was during a weekend. I was feeling really bad. It was on a Saturday when I started feeling stomach pains, bad stomach pains. I didn't think anything of it, didn't really pay attention to it. I just thought maybe I had ate something bad, ate something at work bad, because I worked at a fast food place. I'm like, maybe I ate something at work bad or something, or maybe, I don't know. I just thought maybe I had ate something bad. Then Sunday, it was still going on, still a bad stomach pain. So I still didn't get too alarmed. I was like, well, maybe I got gas or something. I don't know. So it still went on, and I was still going about my normal day doing me. Monday hit. I was getting ready for school, and I felt so sick and out of breath for some reason. So as I'm putting on my clothes, my stomach is hurting even more. And I'm like, well, what is going on? This is now the third day of this. So I tried not to panic. I didn't really say anything. I just, played it off, played it cool. And I remember going to my first class that day, on that Monday, and feeling like somebody had just punched me in my chest and knocked all the wind out of me. And I remember my watch telling me, "Ooh, and I was getting so worried, and my heart rate was regular going up. So I remember my Apple Watch telling me, "Oh, your heart rate is going at a not so normal rate. Like, you need to calm it down or something." So I got a little worried, and I'm thinking maybe I have a stomach virus. I get home after school and everything, and I tell my mom, I haven't felt well. I actually had told her that Sunday that I was having a stomach problem, and she said, we'll just watch it. So I told her again, Mom, I still got that stomach problem, but it feels like it's getting worse. Today I just felt so out of breath. So we went to my doctor. He diagnosed me with gastroenteritis after I told him my symptoms. So I never heard of gastroenteritis, but from what I knew, it was something that can easily go away once you take the proper medication and stuff. It should easily go away in a couple of days. So he put me on kale Pactate and ginger ale. I didn't really think what he put me on would really do any good, but I went along with it because deep down, the way I was feeling, I knew I needed more than just some kale Pactate and some ginger ale. So I went on for a couple of days, and instead of things getting better, I was drinking my kale Pactate and drinking my ginger ale, but instead of things getting better, things got worse. And the next week, the following week, I actually woke up like one night of that following week. I woke up one night. It was midnight, and I just felt this hurting in my stomach. I felt the hurting in my stomach. So I'm just thinking, oh, it's this stomach virus or whatever this is. So I sit on the toilet, and all of a sudden, I just feel this rush of just pain coming through me. And then I get up. I'm thinking, well, I'm done. I get up, and I look in the toilet. It's a toilet full of blood. And I'm like, no, I ain't on my period. It didn't come. I knew for a fact it wasn't my period because it didn't even come out that end. It came out the other end. And I said, oh my God, I am bleeding. So now I'm on full panic mode. So I tell my mom, I wake her up because at this point, y'all, I'm so worried, so stressed, and still not having a clue of what could possibly be going on with me. But I know for a fact it's deeper than what I feel like it may be. So I wake up my mom and I tell her, come in here and look and see like this, because I couldn't believe it. I needed somebody else to see this too. I said, Mom, look at this. She said, oh my God. When she saw it, she was just so shocked because we had never had to go through anything like this. So I said, Mom, do you think I need to go to the emergency room? Because this to me is not normal. So she felt like, yeah, I did, but we needed to be for sure. So we wake up my granny. My granny, she looks at it too, and the moment she sees it, she just looks dumbfounded and said, oh yeah, we gotta go to the emergency. We got up, it was dark as I don't know what outside and very cold at night. We got up and I just was feeling so bad. Like I was honestly feeling horrible. I had felt like somebody had punched the wind up out of me. I never knew you could feel, just so lifeless until until I had to go through this with this disease. I get to the emergency room. It was like a 30-minute to hour wait just to get back there in a hospital bed. Then but just to get back there in the room. So it was like a hour to 30-minute wait just to get back there to be seen by the doctors and the nurses. Then when I finally get back there and get situated, it took a good minute just to see the doctor and the nurse. So after all this waiting, I'm kind of like, this is really pitiful. Prior to this, I never really went to the emergency room or nothing like that. It was nothing I never really had to go through. So I'm just like, well, what is going on? I thought that they were more urgent when it came to coming to the hospital. I thought they moved with urgency. What is this? We've been waiting almost 2 to 3 hours here. And ain't nobody here really but us and another old lady. What is going on? And then when I get back there, nobody was really even there as far as patients go. It was just like 2 patients. and me 3, including me. So finally, the nurse gets back there. So I'm happy. I'm like, okay, finally, we're going to get some help. So I tell the lady my symptoms. I tell her that I did go to my doctor before and what he diagnosed me with. And that since then, I've, been doing and taking the necessary steps that he told me to take. But things have only gotten worse. And then I told her what happened that the day, what happened before I had came. I told her about the bleeding. As soon as I tell her, she doesn't believe me. So she thinks I'm lying. So at this point, I'm feeling like I have really wasted my time. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to talk to her no more. I want to see a doctor. I don't want to talk to her no more. Because believe me, she really thinks I came in here and waited 3 hours to lie. All of a sudden, I get this rush and I have to go to the restroom. It's just like I'm doing a dash, trying to find the restroom. I'm like, man, where's your restroom? Because the urgency of having to go, it just hit me. So as I'm trying to make it to the restroom, I fail miserably. And instead of making it to the restroom, I have an accident. And guess what it was? Pure blood. So here comes her walking out of the room and she sees it. And I'm looking at her like, you believe me now? And then that's when she said, let me go get the doctor for you. Oh yeah, you're right. Finally get the doctor, and my mom helps me get cleaned up and everything, as well as the nurses there. So I felt so embarrassed by that, first and foremost. Oh honey, it embarrassed me to my core. But have you ever been so sick that to the point you don't even have time to get embarrassed? That's how I feel. I was so sick, I just didn't really even have time to get embarrassed. So I finally meet with the doctor. He tells me, what he heard from the nurse as far as my symptoms go and everything. So he diagnoses me with acute colitis. So acute colitis, through antibiotics and taking the necessary precautions that it could go away. I take my antibiotics and give it, a week or so, and I'm back to normal. So I'm like, okay, cool, we getting somewhere. So that following week, I'm taking my meds, doing me, and now I know that I did have sense enough to know that when you are feeling sick, it does take time for medicine to really get into your body and work. It's not going to be an overnight process. But during that week of taking the antibiotics, the first week, I felt no change at all. Actually, things started getting worse. And I knew then something was up. Actually, during my emergency room visit, the doctor recommended me to a gastro doctor. And so me and my mom decided that I should go to the gastro doctor since I wasn't feeling any better. And the doctor as well told me that if things get worse, here goes a gastro doctor. Recommend, him to you. You go to him and he will be able to help you further because this is a gastro issue. So we set up an appointment, and I will say things were getting so much worse. I was having before that appointment, I was having more accidents. Stomach pains were getting worse. And the bleeding actually became an everyday thing. So I go to my appointment at gastro doctor's office, and he was so nice. He was so nice, so warm, and he made me feel so comfortable. He's basically letting me know he will help me. I was telling him my situation, and that after going to the emergency room, things have only gotten worse. That the antibiotics and every medication that, or remedy to get well has not worked for me. And so he tells me that there is a possibility that I could have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's. So we went from acute colitis to ulcerative colitis or Crohn's. So he tells me that it is a disease. And I'm like, a disease? I done went from a stomach ache to possibly having a disease. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm only 18. At the time, I was 18. He was telling me that it's an autoimmune disease that affects your colon, causes inflammation in your colon. So he was telling me all my options and everything, that I would be on medications, and what's always the goal with Crohn's and colitis is getting in remission. It's kind of like with cancer, you want to get in remission. And he was telling me that if I didn't get in remission, that or that things got worse or no medication worked, that I would have to get surgery to get parts of my colon removed that are infected with the disease. I'm like, oh, we won't even have to go there, We're going to try out these medications. We're going to see which one works for you, girl. He sets me up to have a colonoscopy. So I go and I have my first colonoscopy. I didn't know how to feel, but I knew I wanted to feel better than how I've been feeling for going on now almost a month. I'm like, my mom hasn't even taken a colonoscopy, and she's of age to do it. And I'm 18 and I'm taking one. So on the day of my colonoscopy, I will say this before I get into that. I hate prep. Like, that's the worst part to me of getting a colonoscopy. Everything else after that is not bad, but the prep part, child. As soon as you get through that part, it's just like smooth sailing. On the day of my colonoscopy, I had taken prep that night, and I was just, I don't know, my mind was in just so many places, but my main focus was hoping that what I was doing and everything my doctor was telling me, I was just hoping that what I was doing and hoping that all of this would lead to something better for me as far as my health goes. Because I honestly, it was a really, I think at that time it had already been a month of me dealing with all of this and just being in pain, hurting, and not even knowing what's going on. So I was like, well, hopefully, if nothing else, I can actually figure out what is going on with me. So I got my colonoscopy and finally get back and everything, and the day, 2 days I think pass up, and they finally get the results and everything, and my doctor tells me what I was hoping he wouldn't tell me. He told me that I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis disease. And he told me, the symptoms of it, and was really basically giving me the same information that my gastro doctor had gave me. And he also shared with me that he has an IBD, and his IBD is ulcerative colitis as well. So I will say him sharing that with me did make me feel a little more comfortable, but I will say it broke my heart when I found out I had it, because I was hoping that I hated hearing that I had UC. But even after what I was told and everything, when the doctors were explaining everything to me, I still didn't take it as seriously. And I didn't. Because after my diagnosis and after getting out the hospital, things only gotten worse. Things had gotten worse. And when I tell you, it led to me having more accidents. It led to me losing weight. I went from 175 to like 136. I went from walking, moving, to some days not being able to get out of bed without the help of my mom. I went from just jumping out of bed to, if I jump out of bed, I remember I jumped out of bed one day and I fell on the floor. One day I'm rushing to the restroom and I accidentally trip and fall. So, and I went from not taking it seriously to it being, it just, it's the way, to me, I went from not taking it seriously to it becoming the way my world revolved. And when I tell you, it's so heartbreaking to see yourself deteriorate in front of your own eyes. I remember I would go in the mirror almost every day, just see myself just look like I was just fading away, just fading away, just fading away. And I remember starting taking the medications. I had started on my different medications. And from the first medication to the last one, none of them worked. None of them worked. And I dealt with going through a disease, not taking it seriously, and it hit me in ways I couldn't even imagine, to doing what I need to do in order to get the disease treated, and no form of the treatments are working. And I went from all of that in just a year's time. And I will say it has brought, I went through so many changes. I forgot to tell you, I had to also quit school. I had to quit. First, I quit my job. I had to face the reality that school right now, that school for me wasn't something that I could devote my time to. Devoting my time to school, to from school to work, to now just having to devote my time to my health. And that's what I've been doing ever since. But I do have news. One of the real reasons why you haven't seen me in a minute is because I've actually been working to get back in school. So I did enroll for this semester. So I will be starting classes March 8th. Your girl's getting back, doing her thing. And I'm so happy where I'm at, you guys. I will say, since I've gotten the surgery, my first surgery, things have been looking up. And I'm so grateful about where I'm at right now, because I know what I've went through. And I know how far I've came in such a short amount of time. So I'm grateful to where I'm at. And I wanted to share this just to let people know that you are not alone. When I was going through that, when I first started going through all the things I was going through, dealing with an IBD, I felt alone. I felt like no one understood. I felt so out of place. I felt so just not in my element. But I want you to know, whoever may be going through it and they're in their first stages of it, just know you're not alone. Surround yourself with a good support system that can help you. I will say my support system is my mom, my grannies, and my dad. They, as well as, church family, friends, and other family members. I have a great support system. And I will say that is the reason why I've been able to make it as far as I have, because I've had a support system. If I had to do all this by myself, I don't think my outcome would be as good as it has been, because I learned the importance of having someone with you and having someone that cares about you, if nothing else. Because when you're dealing with an IBD, you have to become more dependent than you may want to be. And me, I don't like to be dependent on people. I like to get done when I need to get done for myself. And going from being able to do for me to having to ask people and having to, take help because that's the only choice I have, I will say it has humbled me. And again, you're not exempt from anything. So don't think you're exempt. As long as you're living and you're breathing and you're on this earth, you can go through any and everything. You're not exempt. The only time you are exempt is when you're dead. But that concludes the story time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for all the support. I hope that this story time was informational and a little entertaining. I thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, honey, God set you down, honey, to build you up. Okay?